I spent the majority of my time at UVU relatively scared of failure. I didn't take certain chances because I was worried about how I might be embarrassed in the process. I didn't take certain opportunities because I was frightened of how I might look after it was done. I lost out on improvement because the potential negative consequences seemed too terrifying. I compared myself to others, pitting my weakest points against their strengths. This is something I've given a lot of thought, especially this past year at UVU. And while I still have those fears, and I may still regret missed opportunities in the future, I've come to learn what failure actually is, and it isn't what I always thought. You hear a lot of people say the only way you can truly fail is if you stop trying. While a well-intended sentiment, it seems to claim that failure means giving up, and I don't think that it does. Because that makes it into something negative, something to avoid at all costs, something to shy away from and do anything and everything in your power to not do. Another perspective I've been taught comes from being an actor. I've had many experiences where professors and directors ask that we fail big, and we're encouraged to make a mistake. We are taught to celebrate failure. We applaud the mistakes. We cheer for the flops. We live for the stumbles. While it eliminates the negative qualities of failure, it spins it in the opposite direction, which can be very difficult to comprehend and adjust to. Now, with these two opposing ideas of how we interact with and view failure, I've come to find my own definition and angle of looking at it. And that is, failure is simply a deviance from expectation. If you label something you've done as a failure, what does that actually mean? Look deeper than the definition and emotion we so often give it. If you failed, it simply means the outcome you hoped for or expected isn't what ended up happening. Looking at it from that perspective, it takes the emotion out of it and turns the opportunity into one of growth and learning, as it should be, but still recognizing that things went differently than you thought. And a failure is simply a deviance from expectation. Opposite of that is success, which means that the outcome you anticipated was the outcome you got. These words, failure and success, hold so much deep-seated emotion and meaning and conjure with them bold reactions and opinions. But these words don't have to be that terrifying or even that important. Words do hold power, but they don't all have to hold the same amount of power that we're conditioned to believe they should. As we now graduate, we are going out into a world where we will be faced with more choices than ever before, more opportunities, and more possibilities for failure and success. While adjusting your own mindset of these ideas is a process and requires an unlearning of so many things we're taught, over time, you'll notice a difference in how you approach new experiences and consider the outcomes. I say all of this to you with no intention to make you like failure, but with the hopes that you begin treating yourself with kindness and patience when things don't go to plan. You begin to see the bright side of situations, or at least recognize that in a week, a month, or a year, you won't care or perhaps even remember the failure. That you can take the pressure to succeed off of yourself that is so confining and restricting and limiting. That you stop comparing yourself to others. That you can recognize the wonderful surprises that come out of failures that perhaps place you exactly where you're meant to be. These are ideas that I'm still working on myself. Even as I was preparing this address, I was second-guessing whether I was doing it correctly, if this was even the sort of thing I should write about. If there was any expectation that my speech would be something other than what it has turned out to be. If I was a hypocrite for saying these things that I haven't perfected. Like I said, I'm still working on it, and probably will forever with much failure along the way. So to the Utah Valley University graduating class of 2021, I wish you much success, and even more failure.